Left in a dumpster as a newborn, woman says she has more questions than anger for birth family. Rachel Clark is okay now. The straight-A student is graduating from the University of Maryland this year, getting married this summer, and excitedly making plans beyond that to write a book about adoption, to pursue a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, to become a mom to at least 4 kids. The 23-year-old is so focused and busy that she sometimes forgets about the turmoil that's dogged her since childhood. Some days, it's like it never happened, Rachel said, but some days I really do struggle. I have such strong abandonment issues. Her issues stem from the way her life began. On September 27, 1989, the day Rachel was born, she was sealed inside a dark garbage bag with her umbilical cord and placenta still attached. The trash bag was then thrown hard into a dumpster. Minutes before she ran out of oxygen, someone heard her cries and saved her. Her abandonment and rescue in Tempe Hills, Maryland became one of the most widely publicized stories of its kind. So well known, in fact, that Rachel overheard people talking about it in front of her when she was about 2. Now, at this especially happy juncture in their lives, Rachel and her adoptive parents are speaking out about their story. They want to let other adoptive families know how normal it is to need help navigating the delicate process of telling adopted children about their violent or tragic pasts. Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story. They're also making their story public because, in spite of everything, Rachel has a persistent longing to find her birth parents. "I just want to be able to tell them that I forgive them," she said. The story made headlines for days back in 1989. At 4:50 p.m. on a Wednesday, Thomas Stevenson took out some garbage behind his wife's flower shop. He paused in disbelief for a moment. Were those cries coming from inside the dumpster? Alarmed, Stevenson ran back inside the shop to tell his wife to call for help. Then he returned to the dumpster and retrieved a knotted plastic garbage bag. Inside was a beautiful baby girl with an abundance of raven black hair. She was injured, her skull was fractured, and she had hematomas, or poolings of blood on both sides of her head. Authorities swooped in and began searching for the birth parents to no avail. Dane and Jennifer Clark of Dunkirk, Maryland, had been waiting on their county's adoption rolls for 8 years when the dramatic rescue story broke. The couple, who were in their early 40s at the time, watched the news anxiously and wondered whether this might be their future baby. Sure enough, the Clarks adopted the little girl just a few weeks after she was found. When they met her in person for the first time, they swooned. "As soon as I saw her, I felt like she was flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone," recalled Jennifer Clark, now 66. Her foster mother told us, "That's the smartest baby I've ever seen in my life," said Dane Clark, 64. I said, "How do you know this is the smartest baby?" She said, "I fostered 43 babies, and that's the smartest baby I've ever seen in my life." As thrilled as the Clarks were to take their baby girl home, and as ready as they felt to take care of her, they said nothing could have prepared them for the special challenges that lay ahead. Rachel experienced night terrors for the first 6 years of her life. After waking herself up screaming, she'd eventually fall back asleep, but her mother wouldn't. "It was a new definition of tired," said Jennifer, who somehow managed to keep working as an oceanographer despite the sleep deprivation. Other complications surfaced after Rachel, a highly verbal toddler, overheard babysitters talking about the circumstances of her birth in graphic detail. When the babysitters left and her parents came home, Rachel blurted out, "Mommy, I was found in a dumpster and a man found me and took me home." Rachel's mom thought fast. "I said, you know what happened then?" Jennifer recalled. "We had prayed for you every night for 8 years and God wanted us to have you. Thousands of people wanted to adopt you." On another occasion, Jennifer was giving Rachel a bath when the 2-year-old asked, "Mommy, I growed in your tummy?" "No, honey," Jennifer responded quickly. "We adopted you and you grew in our heart." Nevertheless, despite plenty of love and reassurance, Rachel became obsessed with the idea that her parents would die and she would be left alone. She'd invent ghoulish scenarios and believed them. Her father was going to be killed in a car accident, her mother in a house fire. By the first grade, Rachel became so crippled by anxieties that she refused to go to school. She did not want to let her parents out of her sight. Rachel's parents took their daughter to see the school counselor and another therapist. They said Rachel had commonplace separation anxiety issues that would pass, but the Clarks sensed it ran deeper than that. Around that time, Rachel's parents heard about the Center for Adoption Support and Education, CASE, a nonprofit organization that provides post-adoption counseling for kids and parents. At age 7, Rachel started seeing a licensed therapist there named Debbie Riley, who proved to be such a godsend for the Clarks that they view her as a family member. "Debbie and Dane and I raised Rachel," Jennifer Clark said. Over more than a decade, Riley worked with Rachel to help her process what had happened to her and stop blaming herself for it, an all too common phenomenon among children removed from abusive situations, Riley said. As Rachel described it, it just had this feeling like I couldn't be enough and I couldn't be loved because my birth parents didn't love me. If my birth parents didn't love me or want me, how could anyone love me? Riley also tried to help Rachel cope with her anxieties and fears. Some never went away completely as a child. Rachel never slept over at a friend's house, and to this day she lives in a basement apartment at her parents' home while attending college. "Even now, I really struggle with a fear of abandonment," Rachel said. "When I was younger, to help me get through the school day, my mom would give me incentives. She'd write poems and put them in my lunch that I could read if I made it all the way to lunch. Or she'd cut a piece of my childhood blanket off and put it in my book bag so I could feel my blankie if I needed to." Riley said it's unfortunate that Rachel learned specifics about being thrown into a dumpster when she was much too young to handle that information. Still, she's an advocate for being honest with adopted children in ways that are gradual and age-appropriate. By adolescence, they should have their entire story no matter how hard it is, said Riley, executive director of CASE. As you put it out there in a normal way, children are able to receive it, but if parents aren't talking about it at all, children think their story is shameful. In 2011, the most recent year for which figures are available, 400,540 children were in foster care in the United States, and more than 61,000 were legally free to be adopted. Many of those children came from backgrounds of abuse and neglect, and Riley said she sees a huge need for more adoption-competent therapists to help them make the transition to permanent homes. "If I hadn't gotten the help I did," Rachel said, "I don't think I'd be as stable and well-functioning in my relationships as I am today." Riley said adoptive parents should not be shocked if their children want to find their birth parents, even after learning that their birth parents mistreated them. She said it's normal for people to want to know the truth about their origins. That's definitely a desire that has never left Rachel. Rather than feel insecure about it, her parents have supported it because they know how much it means to her. They've even helped their daughter use a site called FamilyTreeDNA.com to locate possible blood relatives. So far, that search has led Rachel to 2 distant cousins. "I will always want to find my birth parents," Rachel said. "I mean, I obviously think my birth mother did the wrong thing. I assume she was young because of the decisions she made. I just always try to keep a completely open mind in case I do meet them. I'm not angry about it." More than anything else, Rachel said she's grateful to the parents who adopted her and helped her in so many ways, even when that involved physically dragging her screaming and crying to therapy sessions as a teenager when she didn't want to go. "I have such appreciation for them," Rachel said. "They took in this little baby and they took such good care of me. They gave me such an awesome life." If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone who may find it interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.